I want to bring in Congressman Tim Murphy, Republican of Pennsylvania. He's also a practicing psychologist. Congressman, when you look at what we know now about the shooter, where are the red flags? Where do you think it's possible that his mother or father or society could have stepped in and said, this person needs help?
Red flags probably started in his life early on as documentation that he was receiving some special education help, perhaps for some behavior problems. There would have been discussions about what his behavior was, what kind of sensitivity he had to other people. Hopefully people were also looking, was there any signs of aggressiveness or loneliness or alienation. However, keep this in mind. Once someone turns 21, everything is dropped. The support services are gone. Consultation with parents disappears. In fact, they might have stopped telling the mother anything when he turned 17 or 18 or so. And that's one of the problems with our HIPAA laws. And she would not have known that there was other risks.
Health privacy laws.
Health privacy laws. So she would not have learned about that. She could not have inquired about that. And worse yet, a doctor would not have been able to call her and say, can you tell me, I want to know about some other things about him. Does he have any fascinations with morbid or dark websites? Does he have anything going on there?
A doctor couldn't, so let's say a 24-year-old and a psychologist or a psychiatrist is very concerned about this person. He cannot call the mom?
You can't call. HIPAA law that unless someone gives approval. Now, he may, I don't know if he was, but let's say he was not in treatment and it's completely blind, but if he was in treatment, unless the person gives you specific permission, you can't go unless you have an elevated concern for risk. If you believe that there's a direct threat, if there's a risk, then you have a duty to warn. But other than that, you're very limited. Unless something is publicly posted on a social website, but you wouldn't know, if you don't know the person's handle, you can't even find that. That's some places where doing a risk assessment, professionals are really flying blind. But certainly in these cases, I think it's essential when you have someone with some serious mental illness to be able to create some tiny changes to HIPAA laws where you could...
And this is what you're proposing in legislation?
Yes. So you could consult with a family member to at least get some sense there. I hear time and time and time again from parents. They said, I know my kid's getting help. I'm not allowed to tell them anything. They don't call me unless they get permission or they happen to run into me.
And your bill would change that? It would allow more conversation?
Two things can happen. One is a doctor can be in a passive mode. If they say, okay, I know you're the mother. I'm not going to tell you anything, but I can listen. That can happen if they happen to be there. But that professional can't give her a cold call or any parent a cold call and say, tell me what you know. Very limited on that, and you certainly can't snoop for risk assessments. Those are serious problems.
Now, you've been pushing for a change in the mental health system for a long time. You and I have been, unfortunately, you're a guest on the show every time we have one of these horrific shootings. Not even every time, but quite often. Have you gone to Vice President Biden, who was put in charge of this task force by President Obama after Sandy Hook, to come up with what they called at the time a holistic approach, talking about mental health, the culture, as well as guns? Have you talked to them?
Yeah, I've talked to him sort of informally at least 5 times at various events. And I'll tell you, he tells me he's very sympathetic. He agrees. Each time he said, can you call my office, let's set up a time, and then that gets blocked. I'm rebuffed from that. And he did say, look, the White House wants to focus on guns. We have to do more than just focus on guns. We've got to focus on what's in their mind and not what's in their hands. That we can change. We can identify people at risk. We can provide help for them early on. We can make a difference in their prognosis of their life. But here we are after the bloody summer of 2015. Horrible, horrible tragedies occurred in multiple states. And we haven't made any changes to the mental health system in America. We have federal systems that are actually abusive and neglectful towards providing services for people with mental illness. And it's worse yet for minorities and for low-income families. It's a terrible system.
Well, hopefully they'll stop blocking those meetings and you and Vice President Biden can get together. Who's blocking them, the White House?
Well, some staff said it wasn't in their sub-bucket. Hopefully we can get through. Look, we have to have a discussion on this. Republicans, Democrats, executive branch, legislative branch, both ends of the Capitol. There are solutions. My bill, H.R. 2646, is a solid solution.
All right, Congressman Murphy, thank you so much. As always, appreciate it.